Hey, it's Katie. At this point, I've made tons of dessert boards, and I want to share with you 5 of the most common mistakes that I've made. Mistake number 1 is underfilling your board. A lot of times you'll see boards where first of all, the area is not covered. That's like step number 1. You have to cover the space. But then you also want to go with some depth. You want to actually stack things on top of each other. This is what really creates that extravagant, overflowing look that we're going for. So if you build a board and you realize you just don't have enough to cover it, then you need a smaller board. And that's a really quick fix. Just grab a smaller board and use that instead. Again, it's creating, these dessert boards or these boards of any kind it's not just a platter with food on it. It is almost an art piece. And again, part of that is that extravagant filling that is just like, oh my goodness, like this beautiful thing. And creating the depth is the secret to that. So don't underfill your boards. The next mistake is not having a cohesive color palette. You need to have a cohesive color palette in order to create a unified look. Now, I can make a disclaimer here, and obviously you guys can do whatever you want, but this is just my opinion. When I say color palette, it doesn't mean that you need to use all the same colors or whatever. It just means that colors need to be repeated. So if you choose like browns and caramels and a red color, then you're not going to want to just have the reds in one type of dessert or just in one place, but you want to spread throughout the board. So you guys can see this board here, the red is in the strawberries, the red is in the candy. And so it makes sense. So, and that's just a design concept that you should be having things repeated throughout the space or throughout the board in order to create a cohesive look. So you guys can also see this board that I most recently made, and it has a very, very small color palette. It's just like caramels and browns all within that same little family there. And that creates a really cohesive look very easily. So if you're not sure about the colors, then just go really simple. You can even go like a true monochromatic board would be super awesome. I'd love to create a video on that if anyone's interested. But you guys can choose all of the same colors, and that works just as well too, and can be kind of part of the theme. The third mistake is not having a plan. You really need to have a plan, and this really goes more for if you're making things homemade. You're not just going out and buying everything, but if you're making cupcakes or you're making whatever, you need to have a plan. Like, okay, I'm gonna bake the cupcakes Thursday, gonna frost them Friday and put the board together, whatever it is. If you try to make it all like put the board together and bake all the desserts like all within a particular window, you're gonna have a hard time. So I really encourage you to create a plan, and I encourage you to bake always the day before you want to frost. And I don't always do this, but it will make things a lot easier. The fourth mistake that I see is not having any movement on the board or curves on the board. And that's really what it comes down to, is you've got to have something that is drawing the eye across the board. And you guys, you see this when you look at savory charcuterie boards, and I've even heard it called the meat river. Like, there is movement to the board, and that is what draws your eye. And so you don't want to just have, now I will create pockets of different desserts, but you've got to have that movement to bring people's eye across the board. That's really what makes it interesting. And again, that's another design element that we're just using in this dessert board format. And the easiest way to do this is curves. You guys, this is like every single board I make, it's got these curves, and it's just a really quick way to make it pull together, make it interesting. And again, don't make the mistake of just dumping everything on a board. You've got to have that curve for sure. You've got to have that movement to make it work. The fifth and final mistake that we're going to talk about today is having everything the same size, whether that be like everything is big or everything is really tiny. You guys, you have to have a variety of sizes. So some larger items, some medium sized, some little to medium sized, some little items, and that's what creates a really great board. And here's why. If you have all big items, there's going to be a lot of gaps. And if you have all really small items, it's going to create a really busy look to your board. So by using a mix of bigger items and smaller items, and then again, medium-sized items, variety of sizes, it's going to create really kind of the Tetris effect. Where, and you guys, usually I work biggest to smallest, but putting my biggest items first, and then the medium size, and then the smaller size, and then the next smallest size, and then all of a sudden the board is completely full, and it really works. And again, They're all spread out and it creates just a beautiful artistic look that is really cohesive and that really just functionally fits together. Again, the Tetris effect, that it all works together. I hope you enjoyed that video, you guys. I have so many videos on dessert boards. I have them on spring dessert boards, fall dessert boards, Christmas dessert boards, how to build a dessert board, like whatever you want, it's in this playlist, so check it out.